So here we go. Page 210 of The Spirit of Gravity. And this is paragraph 2. I mean, excerpt 2. So, he who will one day teach men to fly will have moved all boundary stones. All boundary stones will themselves fly into the air to him. He will baptize the earth anew as the weightless. The ostrich runs faster than any horse, but even he strikes his head heavily into heavy earth. That is what the man who cannot yet fly is like. He calls earth and life heavy, and so will the spirit of gravity have it. But he who wants to become light and a bird must love himself. Thus do I teach. Okay, so let's come right over here. Right here. So this is on page 80 of the Spoke Zarathustra. They flatter you as if you were a god or a devil. They whine before you as before a god or a devil. What of it? They are flatterers and whiners and nothing more. And they are often kind to you. But that has always been the prejudice of the cowardly. Yes, the cowardly are prudent. They think about you a great deal with their narrow souls. You are always suspicious to them. Everything is thought about a great deal is finally thought suspicious. They punish you for all your virtues. Fundamentally, they forgive you only your mistakes. Because you are gentle and just-minded, you say, they are not to be blamed for their little existence, but their little souls think all great existence is blameworthy. Even when you are gentle towards them, they still feel you despise them, and they return your kindness with secret unkindness. Your silent pride always offends their taste. They rejoice if you are ever modest enough to be vain. When we recognize peculiarities in man, we also inflame that peculiarity. So guard yourself against the small men. Before you they feel themselves small, and their baseness glimmers and glows against you in a hidden vengeance. Have you not noticed how often they became silent when you approached them, and how strength left them like smoke from a dying fire? Yes, my friend, you are a bad conscience to your neighbors, for they are unworthy of you. Thus they hate you and would dearly like to suck your blood. Your neighbors will always be poisonous flies. That about you which is great, that itself must make them more poisonous and ever more fly-like. Flee, my friend, into your solitude and to where the raw, rough breeze blows. It is not your fate to be a fly swatter. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. Now, you had to be on another enlightened level to even think of writing something so deep, something so powerful, of how everyone feels in this enlightened world. Like, people look at you like you're a devil, like you're a demon, like everything you say is just to deceive them, to get over on them. That's what that meant. So let's see if we can find another good one. I have a lot of marked stuff in here, so let's see. Okay. Oh, this is going to be a really good one. It's going to be a really good one. So, The earth is full of superfluous life, has been corrupted by the many too many. Let them be lured by eternal life out of this life. Yellow men or black men, that is what the preachers of death are called. But I want to show them to you in other colors. There are the dreadful creatures who carry a beast of prey around within them and have no choice except lust or self-mortification. And even their lusts are self-mortifications. They have not yet even become men. These dreadful creatures, let them preach departure from life and departure from themselves. There are the consumptives of the soul. They are hardly born before they begin to die, and too long for doctrines of weariness and renunciation. They would like to be dead, and we should approve their wish. Let us guard against awakening these dead men and damaging these living coffins. They encounter an invalid or an old man or a corpse in a straight way. They say, life is refuted. But only they are refuted. They and their eye that sees only one aspect of existence, muffled in deep depression and longing for the little accident that brings about death. Thus they wait and clench their teeth. Or they snatch at sweets, and in doing so mock their childness. They cling to their straw of life and mock that they are clinging to a straw. Their wisdom runs. He who goes on living is a fool, but we are such fools, and precisely that is the most foolish thing in life. Life is only suffering, thus others of them speak, and they do not lie. So see it to it that you cease to live. See so to it that the life which is only suffering ceases, and let the teachings of your virtue be. You shall kill yourself, you shall steal away from yourself. Lust is sin. Thus say some who preach death, let us go aside and beget no children. Giving birth is laborious. Say others, why go on giving birth? One gives birth only to unhappy children, and they too are preachers of death. Men are to be pitied and pitied. Thus, men are to be pitied. Thus, others again, take what I have, take what I am. By so much less am I bound to life. If they were compassionate from the very heart, they would seek to make their neighbors disgusted with life, to be evil. That would be their true good. But they want to escape from life. What is it to them that with their chains and gifts they bind themselves and others still more firmly to it? And you too, you to whom life is unrestrained labor and anxiety, are you not very weary of life? Are you not very ripe for the sermon of death? All of you, to whom unrestrained labor and the swift, the new, the strange are dear, you endure yourselves ill. Your industry is flight, and will to forget yourselves. If you believe more in life, you would devote yourselves less to the moment. But you have insignificant capability and capacity for the waiting or even for laziness. Everywhere resound the voices of those who preach death, and the earth is full of those to whom death must be preached, or eternal life. It is all the same to me, provided that I pass away quickly. Wow, I don't think I can take you guys any deeper. All I gotta say is you guys gotta go out and get this book and check it out. This is Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Friedrich Nietzsche. Very great book, very inspirational author. Here's another book by Friedrich Nietzsche. This is called The Antichrist. and it's a criticism of Christianity. And I know people hate when we criticize Christianity, but honestly, I mean, it needs to be spoken about. And here, I'll read some excerpts out of here to get your mind wrapped into how Friedrich Nietzsche believed Christianity was directing our way of life. So I'll just go to some of these ones right here. Let me get to the end a little bit. Okay. So pagans are all those who say yeah to life, and to whom God is the word for the great yeah to all things. The law, the will of God, the holy book, and inspiration. All these things are merely words for the condition under which the priest attains to power, and with which he maintains his power. These concepts are to be found at the base of all sacerdotal organizations, of all priestly or philosophical and ecclesiastical governments. The holy lie which is common to Confucius, to the law book of Manu, to Muhammad, and to the Christian church is not even absent in Plato. Truth is here. This phrase means wherever it is uttered, the priest will lie. So no matter anywhere that religious is uttered, the priest will lie. So from Muhammad to Confucius to the law book of Manu, at the end, it's all just one concept and a deception and a lie. So let's see another spot. Right here. Okay, so the instinctive exclusion of all aversion, of all hostility, of all boundaries and distances and feelings is the outcome of an extreme subsequentability to pain and to irritation, which regards all resistance, all compulsory resistance as insufferable anguish. That is to say, as harmful as deprecated by the self-preservative instinct, and which knows blessedness, happiness, only when it is no longer obliged to offer resistance to anybody, either evil or detrimental, love as the only ultimate possibility of life. So to break it down in simple terms, no matter what and what is learned and what is taught, love is the last doctrine and the absolute of life, as in the good. So that is called The Antichrist by Friedrich Nietzsche. And you would think like a book called The Antichrist would be talking about some devil and something this and then that. But no, he's talking about priests. He's talking about different religions. He's talking about the power of persuasion. So here's another good book right here. This is called Beyond Good and Evil by Friedrich Nietzsche. Okay, so remember at the beginning I said this was my favorite writer. So I'll read a small point out of here and then I'll get to some of these other books that I have. So it might even be possible that what constitutes the value of those good and respected things consists preciously in their being insidiously related, knotted, and crocketed to these evil and apparently opposed things, perhaps even in being essentially identical with them. Perhaps, but who wishes to concern himself with such dangerous perhapses? For that investigation, one must await the advent of a new world of philosophers, such as will have others taste inclinations, the reverse of theirs, and here there too prevalent philosophers of the dangerous, perhaps in every sense of the term. And to speak in all seriousness, I see such new philosophers beginning to appear. So what he's saying here is, it might be normal to feel delusional or selfishness, but what constitute the real values of those goods and the good things and respected things consists precisely in their being similarly related and put together before evil, and that of which that opposes evil. So what is right is right, and what is wrong is wrong. And every person in a religion should know this. So what value does a religion have upon you, per se? So here's another book I got right here. This is called Critique of Pure Reason. This is by Immanuel Kant. And this is I got this book. It's a good book. It's a very, very tough read. I have a hard time understanding everything they're saying, so I always have to jump back and forth from my dictionary and just try to gain a better understanding. So I have a little excerpt right here. I'll just read. As you see, I'm around page 80 or so. So, to know what questions we may reasonably propose is in itself a strong evidence of sagacity and intelligence. For if a question be in itself absurd and obsequiable of a rational answer, it is attended with the danger, not to mention the shame that falls upon the person who proposes it, of seducing the unguarded listeners into making absurd answers, and we are presented with the ridiculous spectacle of milking the he-goat and the other holding a seize. So what it speaks of right here is that to know what questions we may have is strong evidence of intelligence. But for the questions, it's not absurd to have a rational answer. But if there is no answer, it is attended with danger and shaming of the person who asked or proposed that. And this is unguarded listener making absurd answers. And we always are presented with the ending of milking the goat that can't be milked. So that's a Critique of Pure Reason by Immanuel Kant. Here's another one right here. Nature of Man and God by William Temple. So this book was published in 1949. It's a very delicate book. I could even feel like the layer of the page coming off right here, so I'm going to be a little careful with it. But I'll read a little excerpt out of here. So let's go right over to, let's see, where are you at? Right here. We have directed our attention to the process in which it constitutes the world of nature. We have seen that in the course of that process, mind appears, first in a rudimentary form, later in a fuller development. In this fuller development, we see mind through occurring within the process and unconditioned by it, yet capable and steadily increasing measure of selecting the direction of its own attention and thereby determining the action which it initiates, even in the physical sphere. We cannot avoid asking for some explanation of those processes in itself, and when we do so, 3 points immediately challenge our attention. So, I'm not too deep into this book yet, so I wouldn't really be able to tell you exactly what that meant because it was a little bit more confusing. It sounded like I wouldn't explain it, but let's go to the next one. So here's another book. This is a first edition, and I made sure that I got a book by Confucius, and this is called The Analects of Confucius. So this is, as you can see, this is a really, really nice book. See how that is? So let's go right here. Bam. So this book right here has, see, I love how they have the little bookmarker. But see, this book right here has sayings, right? So let me read you some of the sayings. You know, this is what a lot of Chinese people, their spiritual person is Confucius, and he was actually a real person who fought against not communism, but just fought against people rights and how you should be. Okay, so I'll read an excerpt from him right here. It says, "The master said, I, for my part, have never yet seen one who really cared for goodness, nor one who really abhorred wickedness. One who really cared for goodness would never let any other consideration come from it first. One who abhorred wickedness would be so constantly doing good that wickedness would never have a chance to get at him. Has anyone even ever managed to do good with his whole might, even as long as the space of a single day? I think not. Yet I, for my part, have never seen anyone given such an attempt, because he had not the strength to go on. It may well have happened, but I, for my part, have never seen it." So this is an interesting book. The whole book is just maxims. They're maxims from Confucius.